show today. Miss, give me my cookies right now. I don't give a damn. Miss Sugalicious Me.
My lips like sugar, my lips like sugar. Candy got you sprung, candy got you sprung. So call me your sugar, so call me your sugar. You love you some, you love you some. I'm sweet
Alright, how's everybody doing? I cannot believe I had my mic off and I was upstairs eating fucking cookies. So when she said I had like a mouthful of cookies, I could not even fathom coming down here fast enough. How is everybody doing? I am in a, that kind of mood, but you gotta do what you gotta do, right? I hope everybody is doing absolutely fantastic. Tonight's show is a little different than what I normally do, because normally I'm all about, having fun, talking, shit, stuff like that. But tonight is a little bit differently because I want to focus on racism, prejudice, and discrimination. And it's really, really sad because I kind of knew when I would have this topic, I would get few people here because a lot of people want to close their eyes to it and want to act like it doesn't exist. And the fact of the matter is, it does exist. And it's not just black and white like everybody wants to believe. It is black, white, Italian, Spanish, Irish, gay, straight, bisexual, homosexual, transsexual. It's all over the place. It's fat, it's skinny. It's something that a lot of us may even do ourselves and not even realize that we do it, because it's a thing that I think that we're programmed by watching television and watching so much, that we're programmed that we see shit and we're programmed to go, yeah, that's acceptable. Like if you see say a bisexual person, you kind of program to kind of make fun, or somebody who's fat, or somebody who's maybe too thin. You always say, oh, she needs some more cornbread. I have to admit that I'm really bad at that. When I was in school, I remember we had this girl that was in school. She was really pretty, had a very pretty face, but she wore a wig. And we would always laugh behind her back. We was in junior high school. We always laugh behind her back about her having a wig on. And one day, one of the girls snatched it off. And oh my God, we were cracking up because she had these patches in her hair. We were laughing, thought it was so funny. And then we were called into the office, of course. And I'm like, oh shit, my grandma's going to kill me. So we call in the office. And when the nurse explained that the girl had cancer, we had no idea. We were making fun of her having a wig, not realizing that she had cancer. She was 15 years old and had cancer. I felt like total shit. I really, really did, because I thought, wow, here I am making fun of this girl and not knowing that she had cancer, but I'm making fun of the fact that she wears a wig. And I thought to myself, God, Sam, you really... Sam is my real last name, by the way, my real nickname, by the way. But I thought, damn, Sam, you really got issues if you're doing something like that. So the sad part about all that is that I don't think any of us really realize what we're doing when we do it. I don't think any of us really realize how much harm we can do by talking about somebody. Anyway, she and I became the best of friends. I'm still friends with her as of today. I won't tell you how long we've been friends, because it's none of your damn business how old I really am. So we won't go into that. But anyway, we've been friends ever since, and I love her dearly. And I've asked her to come on the show tonight, but she refused to come on because she thinks that this game is full of shit. So let's not worry about it. But anyway, I've got some guests tonight that I really am really happy that they are going to share some of their stories with us tonight in regards to this. Now, the funny part about this, and it's not funny, when I saw this, I was trying to see something, and this said, we serve white only, no Spanish or Mexicans. Now, if you're black, you kind of seen that, or had seen that before, be it Google, or have your great grandparents talk about it, or someone has probably spoken about that. But if you see that, I would have never thought that I would have saw that. We serve whites only, no Spanish or Mexicans. And I thought, damn, so shit, it ain't just us. It's all over the place. it's not just a thing of, they have that a person just dislikes just the blacks. When I saw this one, now this to me was just so shitty. No dogs, Negroes, or Mexicans. Really? No dogs, Negroes, or Mexicans. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I don't know where prejudice comes from, because honestly, my grandmother was a Southern black woman who did not believe in color. Everybody to her was the same way. You would think, being raised in Mississippi, her view would be a little different. But she didn't believe in color. She thought everyone was equal, even though they may have saw her equal. But I have remembered that we had, white gentlemen come to the house and treat my grandmother with the utmost respect, like as if she was a queen. And I always remember that. So I was kind of sheltered from racism until I met my grandfather. And my grandfather is full-blooded Seminole Native American. He lives on a reservation. And I remember when my father finally took us there. And when he took us, I could not believe the look on my grandfather's face. But it was with sheer disgust because we were half black. And I remember him saying, why are you bringing them here? And I'm thinking, wow, really? That's how he viewed us. We weren't his grandchildren. We were them. Although we had the same bloodline, we were them. That's what we were. We were them. So of course we went through that. He finally accepted us in some kind of way. But the thing is that what got me is that he accepted us, but my uncle, who actually is a actor, he's played in a lot of films, and I'm sure you've seen them. He was basically disowned by my grandfather because he married a white woman. When he came to the reservation with his wife, my grandfather actually had the other Native Americans pull guns on him and tell him that if he didn't get out, they would kill him. And they knew for a fact that he wasn't playing. He would kill them. So without that being said, I want to bring my audience, my panel on, because let's get down to the nitty gritty so we can really see how really bad that it is. If my panel would come out, I'd greatly appreciate it. Panel, please come out. And can everybody give them a round of applause? Because it has to take a lot for them to come here and open up to us as far as what their lives is, what they're going through. This takes a lot. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming on the show, because I know this may open up a little wounds, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. I almost started crying when I think about how my grandfather treated me, but that's neither here nor there. It is what it is. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce from my left to my right. Well, let's start with Miss Cap. Cap, can you introduce yourself and tell them what you do? She hear me? I don't think she has her. I don't think she has her dot. Okay. Lulu, can you introduce yourself and tell them what you do?
Can everybody hear me okay? My name is Lulu Cortez Static, and I am a DJ here on SL, as well as a poet. And real life wise, I bring awareness towards wounded warriors, women's empowerment, as well as multiracial activism.
And Miss Nazarene, can you please introduce yourself and what you do, my love? Pelagroso, can you introduce yourself, please?
I am Peligroso Static, owner of R2VE, co-owner, and I'm the camera behind Sugarlicious Talk Show.
And Elle Chanel, I like that name, Elle Chanel. Elle Chanel, can you introduce yourself and tell them what you do?
Hi, everybody. My name is El Chanel. I pretty much do a lot on the grid, off and on, but what I'm really consider as my strong set is I'm an advocate for LGBT and trans around the Second Life grid, and I also do videos and blog and stuff like that.
Thank you so much. We'll wait for our other two to get set up. Since El Chanel brought that up, El Chanel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as far as some of the things that you have noticed being transgender in SL? What have you had to deal with?
Well, yes, a lot of people may know me from my little signature green hair and black and white, but recently I came out with my story about me being transgender, identified as transgender female, born male, transitioned into female. And in the beginning, it was very supportive. I must admit, I didn't believe so many people would respond to my story with such appreciation and passion and respect. But throughout that, I started to notice the differentiations of people and how they treat me afterwards. So it kind of bummed me. Some people I may have thought that was supportive of me turned out not to be as supportive of me by going behind disclosing who I was when I'm openly open about it.
Now that has to be hard, especially when you're basically, you're not trying to hide anything. You're basically saying, I am transgender. I was born a male. I'm transitioned to a female, and it has to be hurtful when people know that about you, and then they treat you differently and make you like this story. And I can definitely relate to that when people, say that they're going to support you and then they end up not supporting you. It has to be extremely hard. Have you, the people that do support you, have you been able to kind of like get over some of the BS, as you will, that for those that do support you?
Oh, definitely. I continue to walk with my head held high regardless of what anyone's negative energy or information or whatever they have to say about me, because I learned that about this game is you have to have very thick skin. And although I may advocate for trans and stick up for my community, it's a lot of people out there on the grid that's still in crisis, and
Right.
they're still hiding behind their avatars, and there are people that wants to come out but they just don't know how. Having people that really support me genuinely, it means a lot because I know that I don't always have to feel alone in this game, because that has been an issue as well. I just tend to kind of alienate myself from situations a lot, and I know that could be bad, but when you are living openly in this life, it's a win-lose situation. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and everybody's not going to respect me or accept who I am as an individual, and I'm good with that.
Well, I am really happy that you came, and shared your story with us. I have a friend of mine who is real life who was murdered. He was transgender, and he was always open about who he was, and he never lied to anyone. But these guys knew that he was transgender and pretended that they wanted to get with him and murdered him. And to this day, I can't understand why. It wasn't like he was hiding it. It wasn't like he was pretending to be something he wasn't. He was always open and honest about what he was. He's always was that way. So, and I really respect you for coming out, and I really, really thank you. And because, like I said, he was a good friend to me, and I loved him dearly. And this basically is in his honor. That someone can come up and talk about it, because it's not
That's
easy to
amazing.
to talk about that. It really isn't easy. Now this
And
cap. Oh, go ahead,
oh,
sweetheart.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to make one last statement. I really was interested in talking and speaking my view on this panel because I just wanted, my whole meaning and reason for coming out with my story is to possibly break barriers and change the norm and the foundation of how people are presented and respected. Gender orientation is everything to me, as far as especially gender pronoun. If you identify as a woman, regardless if you were born male and transitioned to female, I believe that person should be identified as female. If that person is from female to male, they should be identified as male. It's kind of like the respect thing of that. And I just wanted to speak for any individuals out there that may have felt like I felt, and you're not alone. And I just really wanted to be here to stand up for our LGBT community. So thank you guys for having me as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Miss Cap, can you hear me, my love?
Yes, I hear you. I
Miss
am
Cap,
here.
can you introduce yourself and tell them what you do on the grid?
Yes, I am Capricorn Blackheart. I am one of the hosts around the grid. I am the main head host of Ghost D Productions. I also am a co-founder of Alpha Sigma Omega.
And Miss
That's about it.
Nazarene, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do on the grid?
Yes, I am Nazarene. I am co-owner of Bongshi, and I am the pain in the majority of you people's butts.
No comment. Me, I am Sugarlicious Densei Christensen Static. I am the wife of Pelagrosa Static. I am also partial owner of R2VE, as well as Little Black Dress and a number of other things. I'm also co-founder of ASO. So yeah, I'm be all do all, and I again am really thankful for everybody being on this show. Cap, I want to talk to you, being and this, I hope everybody doesn't look at me like, why is she saying that? But I have to say it this way: being a white woman with a child who is biracial, a lot of people feel like you don't understand what it is to have a black child. When in
Mm.
fact, I think you do understand what it is to have a black child, because even though he's biracial, people look at him as being what? As being black. How do you handle that when people, because I know you were telling me about a story when you first found you were pregnant, how your family did you. Can you speak about that?
Well, I have two mixed kids. I have a beautiful son who is 22 years old. I have a beautiful daughter who is 14. I mostly dealt with everything when I was pregnant with my son. I had an uncle that as soon as he found out that I was pregnant by a black man, he would not speak to me no more. He actually he was my godfather, and pretty much I was just like, whether I wasn't family, I wasn't anything. Um, when my father found out that I was pregnant, he wanted me to have an abortion. My mother, time and time again, because she was pregnant to my father, and you stick by your man. She tried to talk me into it, and I put my foot down and I said no, that I was not going to do it. I was 20 years old. I had a full-time job, and if it had to come down to it, I would leave, find me an apartment, and I was raise my child on my own. Um, During my 9 months of pregnancy, it was it was okay. My grandfather that I was very close to, he had passed away in February while I was pregnant. Um, and he died. He had a heart attack. Oh, I'd say maybe a month, 2 months later, my mother decides to come and tells me how she's happy that I didn't tell my grandfather that I was pregnant because she would have blamed me for his death. Because he had told her that he hoped that we would never get pregnant by a black man. And I never knew that until I don't know if she got mad or I don't know what it was, but she just yeah. Um But after that, after I went through the 9 months of the pregnancy and stuff, she kind of started changing, helping me out with stuff. My older sister, she was there. She would help me with stuff and everything. And so my mom started opening up a little bit more and starting to realize that she was going to have this grandchild. Um, the day of me going into labor, my father had already made arrangements to go out of town. Knew that I was going to have the child, have my son that day, and he left when went out of town anyways. He told my mother that they were going to leave, and that's exactly what they did. And my mother stuck by my father's side. Sorry about that. That was the kids. but
Hey, kids.
so my father, my mother would stick by my father. So she went on the trip because it was already paid for though too. But still at the same time, I was just like, well, wow. I'm like, I'm gonna have your grandchild, and you're just gonna leave. Now, my sister, my older sister, had her kids, two white kids, and he was always there. He was outside waiting for the delivery. He was after the delivery. He was there to take pictures with his new grandkids and everything. But for me, he wouldn't even come to the hospital. My mother had to force him to come to the hospital to come see me. After I got out of the hospital, I started doing raising my child, raising my son, and everything. The kid's father during their life, I mean, not as much as I would like, but I mean, he's there. Always made sure the kids saw all their parents, the grandparents, and stuff like that. My son was like, oh, man, he had to be at least like 3 weeks or a month old. We were sitting in the car, and my kid's dad went to a gas station. And y'all, excuse me, I hope I do not offend nobody, but I'm going to say exactly what the man said, okay? And if everybody knows me, y'all know I do not sugarcoat anything. But I was sitting there in the car, and my son is in the back seat. This white man walks up. He had a beard and everything. He looks over at me. He was like, oh, she with that nigger, and now look, she done got that nigger child in the back. I was like, whoa, wait, hold up. Was that me? I had to look and like, was he talking about me? And that is when I realized that I was just like, wow. I'm like, this is crazy. So the dad comes out, and I tell him, and he's looking for the guy. I mean, he's heated. And that is the first time, I mean, I really, like, outside of not my family, but somebody else said to me, and I was just like, my mouth just dropped. I didn't know what to do. Because I was just like, wow. You know, but at the same time, thinking, like, thank God my son is not even old enough to even hear this man's hate. I couldn't even believe that. It was bad enough I was dealing with my family, but to actually feel it from the outside is just wow. My son, he was, let's see, he was laying on the floor. I think he was probably about 5 months old, something like that. He was laying on the floor, and one day my dad walked by. He stepped over my son like he was the cat. We had two cats, and he just walked over my son, paid him no mind. And I just sat there and looked at him, and I'm just like, is he serious? I'm like, I cannot believe he's doing that. I'm like, he just walked over him like nothing. And I was just like, wow. But the day hit him is the day we went to this club. My dad was in this club. It was a Moose Club. And it was an all white club. And the people started realizing that my son was mixed. That he was not white like they thought he was. Because, when you have a mixed child, they look white at first. And the fingertips of their hands is what's going to tell you what color they're going to be. And it takes a while for their color to start coming in. So, so we're sitting in the club, and this guy, no, not this guy, a woman. She was sitting there, she was drinking. She starts, and my dad goes into the bar. He's standing there, and he hears this woman talking. Reality smacked him right in the damn face, finally, when he heard that woman call his grandchild a nigger. And that's when reality finally hit him. And he went off on that man, that woman so bad that it was not even, I didn't even know what was going on. All I know is my mother came and got me and she said, let's go. And I said, what's wrong? She was like, nothing. Just come on, let's go. We're going to get out of here. And I'm like, okay. They waited till I got home to tell me what happened. Because my anger for people was starting to develop more and more because I had to protect a child. And I felt in the need that nobody in this world was going to talk to my son in no type of way because that boy did not do nothing to nobody in this world. And my father was like, don't worry, I took care of it. And I looked at him and I was like, you took care of it. And my mother pulled me to the side. She was like, I'm gonna shock you, but your father went off. And I was just like, wow. And after that, he started picking him up. He was carrying him. He would take him outside with him. And all of a sudden, then, could take pictures with him. It was just like he just transformed into a whole different person because that had to smack him in the face. And I was just like, and another time, me and my son, we had moved out of where we were living at, and we went down Southern Illinois, and we were in Hardee's, and so we went into Hardee's to go have lunch together, and this old man was like, "What's that nigger doing in here?" Because they weren't used to blacks being in there, and I'm like, I looked at that old man and I said, "Who the hell you talking to?" And he was like, "You come up in here, you little white trash with your nigger ass child." I went off. I told him, I said, I said, that little boy ain't done nothing to you. I said, but I tell you what, I said, I will beat the shit out your ass. And I said, because I'm going to be the one that's going to do something to you. You are not going to sit here and talk to that little boy like that when all he did is looked at you and smiled. Because that's what my son did. He did not look at color. And to this day, I mean, my kids still, they don't look at color. My daughter calls herself caramel. She does not consider herself black. She does not consider herself white. She says she's caramel because she's both of us. She's not just one color. And I mean, it's just so much stuff that it's just right, sis. I mean, it's terrible in this world how people will act towards kids. And my whole thing that really started bothering me though is when I started seeing white girls, white women. Oh, I want to have a mixed kid. I look at them and I'm like, they're just so cute. Okay, there's more to it than just having a mixed kid. Because you got to deal with a lot of other stuff. You got to deal with, how people going to treat you. Because people do not treat you the same after they find out. I mean, some people will, and then you have the others that are not going to. They're going to treat you different. They don't care. One time, my mother, she was looking at my son's hands. And she was like, "What's this stuff around his hand?" And I said, "Oh," I said, "well, I said, as you can see the little brown, I said, that's what color he's gonna be when he starts, getting older." And she says, "I wish that he would just stay white." I, I was like, "Wow." I was like, "Mom, are you serious? What you just said?" Well, I said, she was like, "Well, maybe if he stays white, then he won't have problems." I said, "Doesn't matter. He's still going to have problems because his dad is black. When he's with his dad and they see me with his dad, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to know that he's not white. He's mixed." But, I mean, it's a lot of stuff that you learn. There's one thing Rosie Perez said, and it really touched me when she said it. She said, "A white person won't know racism until they have a mixed child," and she's right. No white person can ever sit there and say that they know anything about racism. No, you don't. Not until you have a mixed child. If they have a Chinese child, they have a mixed child, they even adopting a black child, that's when a white person will actually feel the racism. I mean, and when she said that, that really just touched home with me because I was like, she's right about that. She's right. I'm done.
It's really really sad because what you're saying, I was started thinking about My best friend was going to be on here. Her name was Dee Dee, but of course Dee Dee is sick, so she couldn't come on. She had a heart attack and a mild one, but yeah, she's taking care of herself. But she wanted me to kind of tell you about her story real quickly. Dee Dee is South African. Her mother is South African white. Her father is South African, but he's dark skinned. Well, Dee Dee is blonde, blue eyed. She's beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. That's my best friend. I love her to death. Well, when Nelson Mandela died, Dee Dee cried her eyes out. And when she was at work, some guy said, why are you crying over that nigger? And before Dee Dee got through with him, she had her hands around his throat. That's how much, it hurt her. And I've noticed that with her, when we're together, she says, sis, people kind of look at us kind of like, what the hell's going on with that? But Dee Dee, as far as she's concerned, she is who she is. She's not white, she's not black, she's not Hispanic, she's who she is. And it's sad that people are so busy looking at color, looking at what your color is. It's just really, really sad. And I wanted to talk to Pelly in regards to what happened to him, because Pelly is tattooed up. He's a tattoo artist. He's gorgeous in real life, by the way. He is. But anyway, he's a tattoo artist, and he owns two
Oh
businesses.
Lord.
And tell them what experience you've had with own family members.
Um, I was born in Italy, but I was raised between three countries: U.S., Honduras, and Italy. Um, my family from Honduras, when I went to visit them, they don't really understand the fact of having tattoos. That country, I would say, is way behind everything. Humanity. If I can't even say that. I'm all tattooed out. Went out there, and even my own family members looked at me like, "Wow, with this cuss." They think that's the devil's mark. And when I'm trying to explain to them, my body's my life. Um, in my left arm, I have, which it resembles my grandmother's history, which I love dearly. My right arm represents myself. My body, my back, my chest represents what I've been through, and my future. They don't understand that it's an art. To me, that's an art. But a lot of people from that country, from Honduras, they don't understand that. They think I'm a gang member, a thug, I do drugs, alcoholic, not knowing, hey, I went to college, I got two businesses, I've never been in a gang, never been into drugs, um, but they don't understand that. So I got that side of the family, which I don't even go to Honduras because of that. You know, they looked at me that way. When I go to Italy, is somewhat the same thing. They don't look at me like I'm half Italian. They look at me like you're Hispanic. Their words is I'm a Mexican, which it used to bother me. Now I could give a shit. I'm grown. I know who I am. I know where I need to be. Even here in the U.S., you look at people, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen females, guys who ride motorcycles, tattooed out, like yeah, they're a gang bike or whatever. All they do is drink and be thieves, and that's the type of personality that people give me. But as long as I know who I am, honestly, I could give a shit. Even when I went to visit Sugar, me and Sugar went to the supermarket, and we was walking back to the car. This Mexican, he was a Mexican female, and her son. Her son's all tattooed out, eyes, tear eyes, old school stuff. And she said, literally, she said, how can I say it?
I can say it.
Go ahead.
You want me to say it? I know it's hard for you to say. She said, "What are you with your attractive self? doing with that fucking nigger, meaning me.
Right. And I stopped because she said it in Spanish. A lot of people, a lot of Spanish people don't know that I speak Spanish. Um, but when I do speak it, they be like, "Oh shit, okay." And when I talked to her in Spanish, she kind of like backed up and kind of was surprised. And her son was going off saying some shit like, "Hey, SA, homie, you don't talk to my mother that way, this and that and whatever." And I was like, "Hey, have some respect. You don't know me, I don't know you, I don't know where you come from, you don't know where my girl and me come from." And he just made up this big deal, just screaming, hollering, and I was like, "You know what, sugar, let's just go." And she kept calling me a traitor and calling Sugar a nigga, and from day one, I lost it. I lost it. I turned around, and this is exactly what I said. I said, "Ma'am, with all due respect, you don't know where I come from. You are the reason. I'm the reason why you're here, trying to live the so-called American dreams. I have fought for my country. I'm college educated. I have two businesses. What do you have? You have a son that's a gangster, who's probably gonna pass away 2 to 3 years from now, from gang related or somewhat. Not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm the reason why you're trying to live the American dream. What have you have done but judge people? Not a damn thing. Trying to live off the government? What have you have done?" She couldn't say shit. Her son couldn't say shit.
I think it bothered him more than it bothered me because I was like, I just laughed and thinking, yeah, bitch, you just want him. You wish you was me. That's all. That's how I looked at it. I didn't look at it as any more than that. So I just basically like, but he was like really offensive and hurt behind. I told him, I said, don't worry about it. It is what it is. Every time when he comes out here, people always, and I've noticed that, and I notice it's always the Spanish girls that look at me rolling eyes, and always the black guys that look at me rolling their eyes. Because I had someone ask me at my job when you picked me up, they were like, why would you want to date a Spanish guy? And there's so many, nice black guys out here. Well, you know what? That's true. But I didn't fall in love with a nice black guy. I fell in love with a nice Italian Spanish boy. That's what I fell in love with. And I don't feel like I have to sit here and say, oh, well, this is the reason why. It's nobody's reason why. Love is colorless. There is no color in love. There should be no color there. Nobody should give a damn who you love. Love should not be black and white. It should not be straight, or it should not be gay. It should just be love. When you teach your children to love, you should not have a color. You should not have a race, or tell them, oh, don't love this person. One thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna go to Miss Nazarene. When I was working, I never forget, I was working at this place. I think it was like 18 years old, and it was U.S. Electrical Motors in Cali. And this girl, she was like talking about how, she doesn't understand the races, the people trying to mix and have relationships with other people that are not their color. I just don't believe in relationships like that. You should stick with your own kind. And that's what I think. I don't believe in having, biracial relationships. And I'm like, okay, I respect that. That's fine. At that time I was dating a black guy. Well, her husband came in and picked her up, and lo and behold, he was Chinese. And I'm thinking, sweetheart, do you not realize that your husband's not white with tight eyes? He is Chinese. So the next day I asked her, I said, you say you didn't believe in, biracial or relationships. She's like, well, I don't. I'm like, do you realize that your husband is Chinese? She says, oh, well, when I mean biracial, I mean black. So you're not telling me that you don't believe in biracial. You're telling me you just don't want to date a black man. And that's fine too. But don't sit here and act like you're dating a blue-eyed white boy when your husband is in barely in the back, barely spoke English. Barely spoke English, could hardly talk to me. I was like, Lord have mercy, did you just get him off the boat? And I was being, yeah, and I was being a little racist. I'll admit it. I was being a little racist and defensive. And do I feel bad about it now? No, I don't. But hey, I'll pretend like I do. Yes, I feel bad, but I don't. Because to me, that little statement when she said when he walked in, I'm like, really? He's Chinese. So okay, let me stop. Let me stop. I'm being bad. My darling daughter, Nazarene, can you tell people what prejudice and what discrimination that you have had?
Well, since I've been born, I've dealt with xenophobia, which is the fear of strange cultures or different cultures. And I guess the PC term for it nowadays is sizeism, also known as fat bashing, whichever one you want to call it. Um, Back home, before I came to America, I've never been this skinny one. I've never been as big as I am now. Don't think I'm Frosty the Snowman. I'm just making a point here. But I've never been the skinny one. So when I was younger, I remember this one incident. I had a cousin who was bigger than me. Okay, but I was always, it's hard to believe, but I was quiet. I didn't used to speak up for myself. My twin who knows me now knows that it takes a lot for me to be able to get the courage up to actually say how I feel. So when I was younger, there was a birthday party. This kid in our class, they were twins, it was Dennis and Denzel. So they had a birthday party. We went to the birthday party. My own cousin, my blood cousin, she led our whole classroom to sing about how fat I was throughout the whole party. And me being the way I am, I don't like looking or feeling weak. So I didn't want to tell my mom what happened. So when the driver picked me up, yeah, we had it like that. When the driver picked me up and took me home, I was crying in the car. But when I got home, I acted like I was fine, which my family knows is normal for me. So the driver was the one who told my mom what happened. And so my mom called my aunt and told my aunt. We got to class. My mom told the teacher because back home, everyone kind of knows everyone. So it's not uncommon for, your parents and teachers and all the families to know each other. So once my mom called the teacher and told what my cousin did to me, how she had my whole class thinking about how fat I was and all this other stuff, and like I refused to touch food while I was at the party because I didn't want them to say anything else. So the teacher punished the whole class. Everyone, it was like basically like government punishment. They had to all stand behind the wall, like behind facing the wall with their hands and feet on the floor and one foot in the air. And then my cousin was put in isolation. Isolation back then basically meant no one in the class could speak to her. But I felt bad because I knew what it felt like, so I would still talk to her, which was my call. Well, I thought that when I came to America, all that would change, but in America it's different. Cause in America it's okay. When I first came here, first of all, the first issue was that they wanted to put me in ESL, and um, there was no reason for it. Let's put it like that. There's no reason for it. I've had the same accent more or less. My accent is more Americanized now because I had to learn how to speak the way you guys do. Otherwise, no one seemed to be able to supposedly understand what I wanted. So, when I first came here, I spoke English, as in the Queen's English. And they told me I'd have to be put in ESL. And my mother had a fit. She went off. She went off on everybody in the YMCA because for those who don't know, when Africans come to America, for the most part, first we deal with immigration, then we deal with the YMCA. Well, we used to. I don't know how they do it now. So she went off on the people in the YMCA who were handling my school stuff, and then she went off on the principal. And so after I tested, I took a test. I tested out. I got gifted and talented. I was supposed to be put in gifted and talented, but because they were angry, I couldn't be put in ESL. They put me in regular classes, which was fine with me. But in the regular classes, I thought that I don't. I guess I thought that the black kids would. I would get along with them more. I don't know why. I'm a friendly person back home. It's not just black kids that I see. I had Lebanese friends, white friends, Chinese friends, all that back home. But here I just assumed automatically to talk to the black kids first. And they didn't like me. I got called African booty scratcher. They made fun of the way my mom braided my hair because African braids are very different from American braids. Let me tell you something. We had the pineapple hairstyle going. Y'all knew nothing about these things yet. So I got made fun of all the time. And it's funny, recently I was watching Fresh Off the Boat, and my mom was like, "Is that why you asked me to stop cooking for you and start buying you Lunchables?" And I told her, "Yeah, because she would make food for me like this cassava leaves or peanut butter soup. Sounds gross, but it's really good. And I'd take it to school, and the kids would make fun of me. And I didn't like it's not that well, I kind of did. I guess I wanted to fit in. So I would tell her, "Can you buy me Lunchables or can you give me money so that I can buy tray lunch?" And after a while, I started hanging out with the Pakistani kids and the Indian kids because they didn't judge me as much because for everyone who knows me, everyone knows I'm a Bollywood fanatic and I've been that way. So I hung out with them and they accepted me. While the older I got, being African, I guess, became cooler. So that was less my problem and my size became more of my problem. So much so that if I would go somewhere, like everyone, okay, I never quite knew what to do because my mom, every picture in the house that I have with her makes me sad. And at this day and age, it makes her sad too because before every picture, me and her had a fight. And it always had to do with my weight. There's one picture of me in a blue like suit thing that she got from Sims, and me and her fought because she bought me the suit. I want to say like 3 months before, and I put it on for the picture, and it was tight. And she was so angry at me, and she went off on me for being big and told me stop eating so much, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. She went off, and after that, it was another picture where she just gone off on me. This was right after my surgery, and I had a surgery when I was about 12, and I gained about 85 pounds in that period. So I'm already chubby. Now I've added 85 pounds, which is a problem in 2 months. So I go from that to being picked on at school for being big. And at this point I still was a quiet one. I didn't like people knowing my business. I didn't like people knowing I was picked on because then people want to feel sorry for me and I don't think that's cute. And I'm still like that. So it was always hard for me because my mom would tell me to lose weight. I'd go on vacation to Virginia or, yeah, because I'd always go there during the summer. Or I'd go to an aunt's house in Houston and I'd try not to eat as much because when I go on vacation, they always want to go out to eat. Or when we'd go to Virginia Beach or when we'd go to, where do we used to go, Water Country, they'd always want to go out to eat at a restaurant. And so me, because my mom told me watch what I'm eating, I'd be getting like a salad or broccoli and grilled chicken. And then my grandma there and my aunt there is fussing at me. And they're like, "Oh, how come you're not eating? Stop doing that." And they call my mom and go off on my mom and say they don't understand why I'm not eating there and I'm making them feel some type of way. So I had to eat. Well, when I ate and I gained the weight, they talk about how I was gaining too much weight and I needed to eat less. And I got to a point where I was so frustrated with everything because everybody's telling me I'm either eating too much, I'm not eating enough, I'm too fat, but if I go to a party and I dance, I'm fat, but I can handle my body. I didn't know which one was which. And then on top of that, being at school, you have all these kids who have something to say about you being big. And it wasn't until I decided I took it upon myself to binge and purge my food. And I believe I did that for, I want to say, a couple months. And I lost like 45 pounds. I shouldn't be proud of it, But listen, 45 pounds went a long way when you're in high school and people are talking about you. And I was cute and nobody was talking about me. I was still big, but I wasn't, I wasn't as big, and I was cute. Everybody was fine with it. But the problem was I love orange juice and I couldn't drink orange juice anymore cuz it burned going down and certain foods wouldn't stay down anymore. So I had to stop what I was doing. And after a while, I think I just got to a point where I didn't give a damn anymore what people had to say about my weight, because it seemed like no matter what I do, and this wasn't until college, mind you, because the school I went to UT Austin. There's like 4% black people, and like everybody else is like white. Majority of them are really skinny. They're really into like their healthy eating. Everybody goes running all the damn time. I'm sitting there walking because I'm not understanding why the hell y'all are trying to jog everywhere. I'm taking the bus because it's hot, and I'm not trying to do that to myself. I'm just being honest. But it was like people would look at me strangely. Like if I go to a club or something, people have something to say about me because I want to wear my short dress and my heels like I'm bothering somebody. Or people would look at me funny every time they see me eating food. One girl actually told me when I went to Chipotle, "Oh, you could really do without this burrito right now." And I was so ashamed of myself because I literally ran out. I didn't even know what to say. But I think that whole experience when I came back to Houston, I didn't really know what to think about myself. And after a while, I was just like, you know what, fuck it. So when my family started, like when I came back, all these family were like, "Oh, I said, I don't understand why you worry." And I had to tell my mom, "You guys are the reason why I worry." Because every time I turn around, it's you need to lose weight. You need to eat less. You need to do this. You need to do that. And it's like people don't understand. I can understand if you're worried about your significant other, your child. I understand that. But what I've noticed is people in America, the only time they seem to all of a sudden give a damn about your health is if you're too fat or you're too skinny. And it pisses me off because it's nobody's damn business. Because my mom's always told me I have three strikes against me as it is. I'm fat, I'm black, and I'm a female. And for that, I have to make up for it. So anybody who knows you can tell you. When it comes to me with my education, I don't play. If I have to be fat, if I have to be black, if I have to be a female, I'm going to be the smartest one. I'm going to be the best dancer. I'm going to be the best dressed. And you don't have shit to say to me about it. And that's the way I've learned to cope with it. High five.
You have me over here going, hell yeah, high fucking five. That's right. That's what I think everybody needs to start realizing. No matter what someone says about you, you have to be the best at who you are because you can't worry about what other people think. I learned that a long time ago, not to give a damn about what people think about me because when I was growing up, I had a weight problem, and right now I'm not the skinniest chick on the block either. But I I'm voluptuous. But when I was younger, I was, had a weight problem. And unlike baby girl right here, my family was real supportive. My grandmother fed me all the time. And the chunkier I got, and I think that was really bad too, because the chunkier I got, the more she fed me. It's like it was ice cream, cookies, what do you want? What does my grandbaby want? So anything I wanted, I had. I was never told no. But once I got into junior high, that became an issue. Because then it was like, oh shit, now I've got to watch my weight. But then, like I said, during the summertime, I lost and had all these boys on me who couldn't talk to me when I was fat. And I was like, fuck you now, motherfuckers. Anyway, Lulu, my darling sister, can you tell us about your experiences? I'm going to hold your hand while we talk. Go ahead.
You make it sound so bad. Um, I Yeah, this is kind of hard for me because, especially identifying with almost everybody on the panel, especially Cap. She is the mother of a multiracial child and children, and I am a multiracial child. I am Polish, Lithuanian, and African American, and things that I deal with on a daily basis range from, oh, you have good hair. I hate that. I have naturally curly hair. I don't use, I don't perm my hair anymore. I used to when I was in high school and middle school because a lot of girls ugh, would pick on me because I had really wild curly hair and I didn't even need to perm my hair. Um, but I felt so out of place, and I didn't. I was going through a lot of identity crisis issues during those years. So when I turned 21, I stopped perming my hair. I was like, "Fuck everybody! I'm going natural." So I got with the movement, and now, yeah. But my story starts with my parents. I just want to let the whole audience know about 2 million American children have parents of different races. That's 2 million American children. And this is just kids who are just have one or two ethnicities, or they're adopted into a family that is outside of their birth culture. And in the United States, marriages between blacks and whites have increased 400% in the last 30 years. And that also goes for with whites and Asians. It's been a 1,000% increase. Um, I'm a military brat, so I didn't always have to deal with racial tensions whenever I was on a military base, like stationed in Germany or like Louisiana. If I were going to like a military school with dealing with other military brats who dealt with other cultures outside of their own, because military people, I mean, you could go to Germany and marry a German woman and bring her back to the States, and you have, you know, a lot of people do that. Or you can go to Korea and do the same thing. A lot of people do that. So you're dealing with a lot of people who are multi racial in the military. However, my parents met in Germany. Both of my parents were in the military. Um, and my dad got my mother pregnant with me. So they got married. My dad is white, and my dad's parents hated my mom. And when I say hated, I mean this has gone on for the better part of, I think, ugh, God, even probably until I was 18. My grandparents were on a war path with my mom, and it wasn't always like, oh, I hate you every time like they see her, but it would be a lot of incidences between my mom and my grandmother um, that would affect our family. And my dad never wanted to believe it because he didn't have to deal with it because he was always deployed. Um, when my parents first met, it was my mom. My dad was the first white guy my mom ever dated. Um, they got married. My dad didn't tell his parents right away um, until they came back to the States because my mom was close to having me. And my uncle, my dad's brother, wrote my mom a letter. He sent it to Germany because my dad told him first. He sent it to Germany, and he um, the title of the letter was "The Top 10 Sins Your Husband Has Committed," and the number one was marrying my mom and having a baby with her. And it was my mom. My mom never said anything Um, my mom wasn't confrontational with my grandparents, only when she had to be. But they treated her horribly. And growing up, when I was born, things kind of calmed down because, it's a new baby in the family. I was the first grandchild. But like with Cap's son, I was really light when I was born. And for months, you couldn't tell that I was actually um, light skinned. And my grandmother would take me to her job, but she wouldn't let my mom come because she didn't want her coworkers to know that my mom was black or that I was multiracial. And so one day my mom just showed up at her job, came and got me. I was probably about like 2 months or something like that at this time. And my as the years went on, my grandparents used to spoil the shit out of me. I mean, like Christmases, like I was super spoiled growing up with my grandparents. But they always treated my mom like shit. And I never realized what was going on until I turned 13. And what happened when I turned 13 was I started looking a lot more like my mom. And if anybody has seen like real life pictures of me, I'm on the thick side. Um, but when I was younger, I was a little I was always thick, but I wasn't like I was always big bone, but I was never like the huge. So I went to my grandmother's house for like 3 weeks, and all she did was feed me like fast food, gourmet breakfasts every morning. Like, so I gained a lot of weight when I was like right before my little sister was born. So by the time I was 13, I looked a lot more like my mom than I did my dad. And my grandparents started, they started yelling at me all the time. And I mean, I would be sitting at the table reading a book. I'm a book nerd. I read all day, every day, and this has been going on since I was little. Um, I was reading a book at the table, and my grandfather came from out of the back. My dad just so happened to be on the stairs. My grandfather came out of nowhere. He got in my face and started screaming at me to go upstairs and get something. And when I mean screaming, I mean like I he was treating me like I had like killed a cat or something, like I had done something so horrible. And my dad was like, "Why are you yelling at her?" And he was like, "Well, she's not doing anything," and blah blah blah. My dad was like, "Well, you don't yell at her like that. If you want her to do something, just ask her." And so I didn't understand how one like the year before I could go from being so spoiled to my grandparents treating me like I was like the scum under their shoes. And dealing with my family outside of my grandparents, um my mom's side of the family was very accepting of my dad, um and of me and my brother and sister. Um, However, my cousins always used to tell me I act too white. And that will bother me because I didn't know how else to act. I didn't know I identified with both of my cultures, and being a multiracial child, we have a lot of guilt when we identify with only one of our parents' cultures. Like if we don't identify with both cultures, well, I just know that this isn't my case. I didn't always identify with my white side because they never really accepted me. Um, as I got older and into my teenage years, my cousins, my white cousins, they would never talk to me if they had friends around. They would never acknowledge me. They didn't want people to know that they had a mixed cousin who had black in them. They basically ignore me. And my one of my cousins, she would always tell me, "You act too black." And I was like, "Well, how the hell? I mean, I don't know. How do you act the color? I mean, because I just act like me. I've always been the same person that I am. So when I got into high school, I started to identify with my black side more. And my mom would be like, well, now you're going through this crisis or whatever, but you're acting ghetto as hell. And I'm like, I'm not ghetto. Like, like, I'm not ghetto. This is just me. I'm just this way. And my mom was just like, I don't understand why you're acting like you're from the hood or something because you've never been in the hood. You're from the suburbs and you're a military brat. So why are you acting like that? And but I just never identify with my white side. And when I was 16 years old, um, my dad was deployed in Iraq, and there was an incident where my sister was having a birthday party over at my grandmother's house, um, off invitation of my grandmother, and my sister. My mom invited all of our cousins, and my mom's brother has 4 kids, and they're all black. And I think some of my cousins from New York were there. They're black. And as well as my uncle, my mom's little brother, he's the same age as I am, um, black as well. And I think out of everybody, there was probably like 3 white kids. My grandmother had a fit. She was like, I didn't tell you could have all these people here. Like, she totally reneged on everything that she told my mom that she could do. I think she said she could have like 20 people over the house because we had a pool in the backyard. And I think there was only like 15 people. And my grandmother was like, they're walking through my house. They're like, like she was making such a big issue. So, my mom told me to get in the car. I just got my license, and she was arguing with my grandmother. Well, my mom told me that we couldn't see my grandparents anymore for a while. So when I got home, my grandmother, me and my grandmother didn't really get along anyway. Um, so my grandmother would call my little sister to ask her about what was going on, like what my mom was doing in the house, like what was going on, like trying to be nosy. So my mom told me that if she heard my grandmother doing it, to just tell her that if you have any questions, ask my mom. So I did that. I took the phone from my sister. Nobody was home because I was babysitting. And my grandmother was like, hey, I just want you to know that whatever your mom told you about me calling you a nigger, I don't believe her. And I was like, my mom never told me that. And so we got into a huge argument. Like, I told my grandmother I hated her, that I hated her and her husband, that they made my life a living hell. Like, I went off on my grandmother. Unfortunately, I got grounded. My mom grounded me. And I say grounded in quotations, like she didn't really, but I mean, for my grandmother's sake, because I said some real disrespectful ass shit. But then again, I didn't give a fuck because you just told me that you told my mom I was a nigger, like. So I asked my mom what she said, and my mom told me that my grandmother, when they were arguing about my sister's party, my grandmother told my mom that you and your daughter can stay on your side of the railroad tracks, and I'll stay on mine. And I had no idea what that meant. I just knew when she used to live in Maryland that they literally lived on a railroad track, and all the people, the white people, lived on one side, and all the ghetto people that were black lived on the other side. And it was like literally like that. And it is an old saying. And I had no idea what it meant until my mom sat me down and explained to me that that's what it meant. But I had been really sheltered at that time against racial slurs because my mom and my dad, they weren't like that. They always I was a product of a white and a black union. I never knew what a lot of those things meant. Like, I didn't have to deal with a lot of that stuff. And so it took a long time for me and my grandmother to mend fences. My dad finally realized what was going on, and he really cussed his parents out and um, did a lot of that. That. And just within my sorry, just dealing with a lot of tension at school. A lot of kids would tell me like after they would I hate when people ask what I am. They ask like, okay, are you like what's your race? And I hate that question because I don't know how to explain it sometime without because people they jump to their own conclusions. Like if I tell you I'm Polish, Lithuanian, African American, and then you just look at me and say, "Oh no, you're just black." No, then why did you ask me what the hell I was in the first place? I'm Polish, Lithuanian, and African American. I am proud of all three of my heritages. So you cannot sit here and say I'm just black. That one drop shit does not fly with me because I wasn't there in 1856 when they made all these rules. No, I'm here in the here and now, and it's bullshit because everybody is mixed with something. I don't identify with just being black. I don't identify with just being white. I identify with all of my cultures. I am my own person. I am proud of who I am. And there's nothing you can tell me I'm not black. I am, like when Raven Simone came up there and said, I'm not African American, like, of course she kind of said it like in a weird way, but I totally get that because no, I'm not just black. I'm black. I'm all these different things that make up this one person. My makeup, my genetic makeup is unique. And if it's just it annoys me because people are so hung up on race and they're so hung up on your color of what they want you to be, and people have to understand that just because just because you're white doesn't mean that you didn't grow up in the hood and that you're acting black. That makes no type of sense to me because I know plenty of white people who have grown up in some very poor environments. And it's unfortunate because they get called poor white trash. Or if you're attracted to a white person and you're black, I've had black male friends of mine degrade my father. And my father is the best man in my life. He takes care of me. I mean, my dad has been emailing me all day because I'm going through some personal issues. And I've been half ass responding to him, and he's still checking on me. Hey, you need some money for me to put in your account? Because I know you're coming over here next month and you're leaving your job. And I mean, my dad takes care of me. And I've had people, my dad has two master's degrees, and so does my mom. They push each other. When my dad got his second master's, my mom went and got her second master's. My dad wants to go get his doctorate degree. My mom's talking about, well, if you're going, I'm going too. Like, like they do those things together and they're like a really strong couple. And my dad is the highest ranking that you can go in the Army. He's an E9, Sergeant Major. And I've had a lot of my black friends say that he only got that position because he's white. My dad has been deployed more times than he has been home. My dad, my dad works his ass off for his family. He does not discriminate against people. He treats everyone fairly. He listens to R&B and rap music with me and my sister when we're in the car driving somewhere. He'll listen to country music, but he really don't like country music. That's just a me thing. When I want to listen to it, like my dad is the most supportive man that I know. And I've had to cut people off because I've had to cut people off because they've had a problem with my dad being white. And they'll have a problem with my man. Oh, your mother slept with a white man? Oh, she's a traitor. That's not a black queen. Well, how do you know? Because my dad treats my mom like a queen. Like my dad does everything for my mom. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's the most frustrating thing. Um when I was in high school, I can count on one hand, not even a hand, how many white guys I dated because it wasn't that I wasn't attracted to white guys. I just refused to date them because of the stigmatism that like people of color or even people of like white people would say, "Oh, it's wrong for you to date a white guy." Even though I saw it with my parents, like it would be like, you shouldn't date a white guy because you're not really white, you're just black. Like, your mother's black, so that makes you black. And I would not date a white guy until like probably like my senior year of high school. Like I refuse. And I would just say I don't want to date a guy like my dad. But like growing up, I had to realize that my dad is the best kind of guy, despite where he comes from, who his own parents are. Because my dad broke so many barriers. Dealing with domestic violence in his own home with my grandparents, um, my mom as well. And they broke barriers, and they're an inspiration to me every day. And I am so thankful to God for blessing me with a multiracial family, and a mixed couple, because they are the definition of what real love is. And a lot of people don't understand that. It doesn't matter where you come from. It only where you're going is and how you get there is all that matters. So, yep, that's my story.
Thank you. Now, as we all sit here in front of you, I'm sure all of you may have a story or two. But the thing is, the only thing I wanted to convey as we close is that you don't know what a person's life is, what a struggle. I'm sure no one knew Kat went through what she went through. No one knew what Lulu went through. No one knew what Nazarene went through, what Pelly went through, what El Chanel went through, what I went through. And no one knows what you went through. The thing is that in order for racism to stop, in order for um, anything to stop as far as racism, prejudice, discrimination, it has to stop at home first. Because I'll be the first to admit, and I'll say it, that I have a problem with a certain group of people. I won't even say who they are, but I have a problem with a certain group of people. And I have to come out of that. And I know I have to come out of that. And when I sit here on the panel and I think about it, I wonder, how do I come out of that? Because a lot of times, shit that you learn from your parents, or you learn from a friends, or stop it. You learn from friends. You learn from no, I like Asian boys. You learn from friends. You learn from different, cultures. It's not Mexican either. It's you learn. I'm not telling you guys what it is, so stop. Yeah, at least everybody do hate on, especially when you live in Cali. Yeah, Cali people hate Mexicans. I'm not gonna lie. I don't hate Mexicans though. I love you all. All are welcome. All are welcome. Anyway, but I know I have to get over that, and I know there's something that's embedded in me that I have to grow up and move from. But I think in order for anyone to change, we have to change within. And I know it's hard because you see so much bullshit that the media puts out there, that's what you focus on. But no one focuses on the positive. Like there was a incident, and I'm going to tell you this real quickly before we end. Um, I don't know if anybody heard about. You can look above my face. I think her name is Zandera Coleman. If I pronounced her name incorrectly, I apologize. But I guess she wore her dreads at the red carpet. And Jillian Rancy, I think that's her name is, said that she must smell like weed. Now, this is an 18-year-old young lady who I thought her hair was fabulous. I think she's really pretty. Um, and the fact of her saying that her hair must smell like weed. You're saying this on national television because this child has her hair like this, an 18-year-old young lady. Now, this is where a lot of this shit comes from. Because if you think about it, when people see this, that's the first thing they see. It's sad. Now, my daughter's telling me that it wasn't racist. She's telling me in my box it wasn't racist. To me, that was racist. But me and Nazarene here are going to agree to disagree. To me, it was racist for you to say that shit. I'm sorry. That's how I look at it. Because if someone, I have a brother who is a weed head, a functioning weed head, and his hair ain't like that. So, yeah, I think it was wrong to say that, but again, my daughter feels it wasn't racist. I feel it was. So she's gonna talk to me after the show. She's probably gonna hit my hand a couple of times and tell me. But I think her hair was lovely, and I think that was just a racist remark. Now, before we go, I do want to give this young lady something. I need you to take it out, woman, that I just gave you. Um, she get out of busy, Lulu. She has been my DJ. Um, Lulu, you better have gotten that. She's been my DJ, my house DJ, and she's leaving for Germany. I'm about to cry. She's leaving for Germany for a few months, so I'm gonna have another house DJ until she comes back. And trust when I tell you, this job is only temporary. It is not full time. And take out what I gave you. Anyway, I'm going to truly, I'm going to truly miss her.
You're gonna
I'm
make
going to
me cry.
I'm going to truly miss her. She is the only one that brings me out like, and I'm hyped up. Not to say anything else about my other DJs, but when she brings me on, she has me hyped the hell up. And I just want to tell her how much we're going to miss her. And her place will always be a hostess for me, a DJ for me. She will always be a DJ for me. I don't give a shit what. Come hell or high water. But we're going to miss you so much, baby. And know that you always got a home on the Sugarlicious show. Know that you always will come back, and believe me, your I'm getting touched. I'm sorry. Your throne will never be replaced ever. So just want to tell you we're gonna miss you. Everybody, can you give my baby sister a round of applause?
You're gonna make me cry. Oh, thank you guys. I'm coming back. Don't worry. I'm not gonna leave you.
It's really, when I first started this journey, I've been doing my blog talk show for almost 5 years, and I've been on the grid for almost 3 years. But when I first started on the grid, I basically was doing private, and now I do it in front of an audience. And as time goes on, audience come, audience go. But one thing I've always been able to rely on is her and Cap, and they are always here no matter what. Now I got Lisa helping me out, but I've always been able to rely on these two since I've gotten started. Anytime I've already did a show, um, the people that's in the audience, you do not know how grateful I am for you, because it's hard to do this. I know people may think, oh, all you're doing is talking, but it's hard to do a talk show. And believe it or not, every time before I come on here, everybody can vouch, I am as nervous as hell. When I first started this, I am shaking. I am Isis, my sister's in my IMs praying for me, telling me to calm down. My grandma's going, baby, be giving some cookies, you hug. Everybody's telling me it's okay, but it is hard to do this. It's not easy, and talk shows can be boring. And I know sometimes you guys are probably going, shut the fuck up, sugar. Girl, tell us something else. But when I do pick a subject, I try to pick a subject, because I'm not Wendy Williams. Will never be Wendy Williams. Will never be Oprah. I will always be Sugar, and I will always try to bring to you positive things on my show. I'm not the one that's going to talk about who slept with who. That ain't my thing. Or who's screwing who, or what it's like to snook your man's whatever. That ain't who I am. My thing is positiveness. And as time goes on, I hope to bring, more things like this to your eyes. So without any further ado, again, thank you so much for coming on, joining the show. I haven't eaten all day today, and I'm going to jump off here before I know I'm going to get my ass kicked, because I haven't eaten anything. Next week, I am hopeful that we're going to have the show that everybody's been waiting for, Empire. So I believe next week we're going to do Empire. So everybody is welcome to come do an Empire. We're going to give away a free car and possibly some clothes in the car. And I'm not really sure if it's next week we're going to do Empire within about the next couple of weeks. My husband told me he wants me to do a show, The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. So we're going to do the Walking Dead show as well. I'm thinking about doing that. And If anybody's ever been on my show, we just get up here, we talk, and usually I'm sitting here going, "Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, who is that? Who's this person?" We did the Scandal show, and I knew nothing about the Scandal show, but hey, I was here hosting that shit, and I was here going, "Hey, well, who is this? Well, who is this? Oh, did they get killed? Oh, they're dead." So I didn't know. Yeah, we do need to do another Scandal show. We really do. Since Olivia, whoever the hell Olivia is, she's back. That's all I know is Olivia. She was dead. She was gone or whatever. She's back. But anyway, again, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to TP out. You're more than welcome to stay. Next week, I promise to have refreshments. I promise to have refreshments next week. Maybe. Kind of. Sort of. Yeah. Maybe. Anyway, as always, thank you and mwah! Sugar kisses. Bye.
My lips like sugar, my lips like sugar. This candy got you sprung, this candy got you sprung. So call me on sugar, so call me on sugar. You love you some, you love you some. I'm sweet like I'm sweet like sugar.
Hey, I got a mouth full of cavities, sweet tooth full of mama like sugar to me. Someone love with a lip, put a bug in the ear, toe sure they gotta kiss it in emergencies. Prince Brown for the taste, addicted to a gloss, one smile is way. Baby, I wipe it out, put my tongue in your face. A little mistletoe, sipping grandma, yeah, I'm a fan all day. Do me that favor, cause I like your flavor, my managed behavior. I'm into your major, sweet and so flavor, that's good for this play in my hood.